What's going on, everybody? Special daytime edition, that's right, of Truth Will Set You Free. I'm Anthony. That's Casey. Casey manned the ship with Dave last week. You know, I know it's midday. I hope some people jump on, catch us. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and the Twitter, or Tweeter, whatever you want to call it. So hit the share button, hit the like button. The biggest thing you could do, by the way, if you're on a cell phone, you can smash the like button over and over, even though it looks like it only says you did it once. It actually helps the algorithm. So smash, 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 smash. We are back on YouTube. If you're wondering, if you watched last week's episode with Casey and Dave, they didn't pull it from the YouTube. I pulled it from the YouTube just because we talked about RFK. I'm not going to lie. We may talk about it again because that's like my topic, but I was on the road. So I may just have to do it again, but I'm not going to, if I'm the one breaking the rules to get us pulled, at least it's me and I don't feel as bad about it. So we'll see. I'm not going to pull this one from YouTube unless I do something ridiculous and egregious. Rose, what's going on? Melissa, hello. Hopefully a few more people will join on this special daytime edition of Truth Will Set You Free because I am going to see Chad Prather and Sarah Gonzalez, part of the Dallas Jewish Conservatives, at an event later this evening. It's a 2-hour drive. So I'm going to have to go out there. Amy, hello. Cindy, what up? Casey, you're traveling right now. What's going on in your world? Where are you?
I am currently at a reservoir here in Utah called Strawberry Reservoir. It's a couple hours away from my house. It's fantastic.
Reservoir.
Yeah.
Is that the French pronunciation?
Something like that, I guess. You're the one that came up with it. So what do you think? Italian version?
Whenever I hear words like hors d'oeuvres or reservoir, I feel fancier. It just makes me feel better about myself. It feels like I'm cultured. Does that make sense?
Is that why you shop at Target?
It's Target, and I do no longer shop at Target. I literally, there was no place the other day to get like a quick snack. There was like 7-Eleven or Target. And I know Target's got like the icy machine, all the stuff. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go hungry because I practice what I preach. I do.
Sure. A little concerned with you going on a 2-hour drive tonight, but we'll just see how that goes.
You do realize I drive. By the way, I got a new car. We're going to get into a lot of different things. We're just warming things up for people to come in. Let me tell you what we're going to talk about. We'll talk about the new car in a second because I totaled and I haven't given people updates on the total situation. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about the massive amounts of potential impeachments from the GOP to the Democrats. You know, you got Mayorkas, Garland, Biden, all these chitter chatters. What do we do? I talked about it on Stacy on the Right last night, I think. Whatever night. Yeah, I think it was last night. And then we also talk about this whole way that the White House is avoiding the conversation regarding Hunter Biden. And I have an interesting clip from The View, our favorite ladies at The View. And she refers to it as a case of fatherly love. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. I personally can't get away without not talking about RFK Jr. So we're going to cover that a bit as well this week. So Casey, I got a new car. It's perfect for lesbians and those that don't want to get a Subaru because it looks like, I'm not going to lie, it looks like a lesbian car. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's Pride Month. I figured, why not get a lesbian car? I got the Kia Niro. So what are your thoughts on the Kia Niro, Case? You're going to look it up because you have no idea what it looks like.
I'm not a big Kia fan. I don't like to shop at IKEA for parts for my car. But I can't tell you what that car even looks like. Let me look.
So Niro. What had happened was, for those of you that know that I got in a car accident, I totaled my car a few weeks ago. By the way, I changed the verbiage because really I did not rear end him. I sideswiped to try to avoid. And it turns out the verbiage of sideswiping to rear ending makes it no longer my fault because it should have never been my fault because the guy was parked in the fast lane. But regardless, I finally traded in my Tesla. God bless, Elon Musk for free speech, but the Tesla needed to go. I took a $20,000 upside down payment hit just because I had to get that's real life, but it was still better than the alternative. So I'm now paying like $800 a month for a $30,000 Kia Niro. But that's the hard knocks, right, Casey?
Yeah, let's just hope you sell a lot of T-shirts.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. But this T-shirt, by the way, all from the AwakeNotWokeStore.com. which we are reworking. Casey was like, yeah, no big deal. Let's, change it around. And then he realized that he bit off a little bit more than he could chew. But he'll figure it out. I mean, he could do it. It's just a matter of time. And no, I am not lesbian. But anyway, so this shirt that I'm wearing is on the website. Sorry, I keep talking over Casey. Casey's got the Be the Change shirt on. We got action over awareness. Funny thing is, Kelly, who we'll briefly talk about, who's now, I think, still ranked 7th in the world in barrel racing, she keeps losing weight. So when she washes clothes, she puts it on ultra high heat. This shirt is so, I feel like I'm trying to be a muscle man. It barely goes below my belly because she legit she's like, yeah, why not high temperature, high heat on everything? I'm 6'2", 220 pounds, for God's sakes, and I'm not getting any smaller lately. Nothing fits. So
sure, blame her. No accountability in Russo's court. No accountability there.
And that actually sounds really bad. It sounds like Kelly does the laundry. That's not true. If Kelly did the laundry, I would have 0 jeans, 0 shirts that fit. I do the bulk of the laundry when it's now. I'm not gonna say when it's my turn. I do it in general, but when she's about to leave on a trip, she'll do stuff. So I would say I wash 3 times to her 1. But when it's her 1, I'm screwed. My clothes are straight. I have to make sure I got to hide stuff in a pile. So I know these clothes, I really don't want her to wash. But anyways, this is where you can find there it is. Use Awake for 15% off. I'm wearing the Pure Blood hat. Casey's got the old school Awake Not Woke, but we have new Awake Not Woke hats on the store site. Anyways, anything else before we get started?
No, sir.
No, let's kick the tires, light the fires. Yeah, let's go ahead and get it started. Boom, boom, boom. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is a special daytime edition, early version of Truth Will Set You Free Truth Tuesday. We got a lot to talk about. Question is, do we go after all of the people that the GOP is planning on going after, talking about going after? We also know that you've got, we could. There's something to be said about Mayorkas, Garland, Biden, all of these potential impeachments that we keep talking about. Is it going to happen? Should it happen right now? And then why is the White House pretty much ignoring everything that's going on with, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden? It's kind of a big deal. And Jean-Claude Pierre, Karine St. John, whatever, Basquiat, is refusing to take questions regarding it, and has even said, she's like, I won't even be talking to Joe Biden about the fact that he has completely lied about his relations to Hunter Biden, which is now evidence. So we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the impeachments, talk about Boebert, all the people that have brought them up, and where we stand. We'll answer some more questions as well. I have one other personal belief that I have to just throw out there right now, Casey. So there's a situation, I think a lot of people that follow us know that, with the horse and all these different things, I'm sure that it's not going to be a big issue that I talk about it here because nobody in our community will necessarily see it. But if you have one job, if you have one job to birth a foal, a horse, this is the grand scope of responsibility. This is the world we live in. You have one job. You screwed up that job. We talked about that job. It caused us to spend tens of thousands of dollars. I had a phone discussion saying we would not be paying that portion of the bill because everything, his negligence, whatever, led to the death of a horse. Anyways, we just got a legal letter forcing the payment of the $1,500 today. I just have something to say. If you have one job and you fail at that job, even if it costs you some money, like the whatever medication and the time of your labor, and it leads to something tragic and it leads to take the L and take self-responsibility and eat the $1,500 bill. Besides that, you can go F yourself. That's where I stand. It kind of brought everything back in when I got the letter about 2 hours ago. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Anyways, moving on. That's all I got for that. What do you want to lead off with? Actually, I'm going to throw the band on the bottom. What do you want to lead off with, Casey?
I don't care. You choose. You pick one.
You choose. Well, let's do a quick recap because I think everybody knows that I love to talk about RFK and what's going on. So give me a little recap of last week while I was on the rodeo road with Kelly when she was getting 2 second places in one weekend. Woo. Yeah, give me the recap. What did you and Dave discuss in terms of RFK?
With RK, we just talked about censorship on how he is getting his videos removed that he did with Jordan Peterson. He also did a podcast with Mike Tyson that was removed. And where are we going to start drawing the line on election interference? He's a presidential candidate, and he's trying to get his name out there, his voice out there, and his presence. And you have this platform, YouTube, mostly, removing him and removing his content from getting out there. And other people have received strikes after strikes for just mentioning his name or talking about him when really it's kind of odd. He's on their side. What happened?
Oh, I didn't know if you heard it. I was flipping to a article that we are going to talk about, and it started playing a video. My bad.
Sorry, keep going. I didn't hear it, so you're good. You're good. But yeah, it's like he's running on the left side, but they just don't want him, so they're not going to give him the time of day, just like they're not giving anybody on the right.
Yeah, so I think it goes beyond that, and like seeing how so like when I look at, I just recently posted on our Facebook page, I said if you are a Peter Hotez fan, like if you are actually like supporting this man after seeing what he had said during the pandemic that turned out to be all wrong, and even experts have talked about lockdowns bad, even most experts at this point say forced vaccinations bad, all these different things. And he was so gung-ho about this. And now he's publishing a book that says that vaccine hesitancy during COVID has led to 200,000 excess deaths, which is literally a number he pulled from his relatively large ass. And those that are still standing by this man as a pillar of science and the expert, it's no longer a opposing sides of the line. You are literally an idiot. You literally are of the intelligence of a pygmy because you are choosing your cognitive dissonance, and the first thing you were told, the first thing you were believing, and you're just taking it hook, line, and sinker. You look like a fool at this point. Those are the people that are, I mean, you can disagree with RFK, you can do whatever, but those that are just ultra pro Dr. Peter Hotez, you look like an idiot. You look like a fool. You look stupid at this point. And I don't know another way to say that. I just don't.
Well, go back and look at Hotez and what he said under Trump when COVID was first kicking in, and Trump was talking about putting together, he didn't use the term Operation Warp Speed, but he did talk about we need to expedite some things. We need to go around some processes and make it faster. And Dr. Hotez was like, you shouldn't do that. Those are checks and balances. They're there for people's security. But if it was Joe Biden pushing it, he wouldn't be questioning it. He was only doing that because it was Trump.
Of course.
And so this is showing you that the entire system is corrupt, all the way down to the medical system and the healthcare in general that we have throughout the country. They are not serving for care. They are just serving their wallets. That's all they're doing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I'm sad I missed last week's talk because, again, you know how this is. If there's one, I mean, this is how Truth Will Set You Free started. This is what talking about the issues with the misinformation from COVID or forced one-sided information, because misinformation you could take many different ways. I can't prove certain things. I can't prove that I found out of a friend of Kelly's had a child that just so happens to have massive amount of disabilities and issues is all I can say, is 2 years old. I can't prove that her page shows how pro everybody needing to get the vaccine was. And it turns out the baby was, has issues and deformed and all these different things. I can't prove that it was connected to the mom getting vaccinated while she was pregnant, but there's a lot of questions. I just have questions. And the fact that we are deemed conspiracy theorists when we are seeing healthy people dying, healthy people having myocarditis, healthy people having children born with issues, having peer-reviewed statistics that show that there is, and data that show that there are some pretty major issues. And I think it's very odd. And like I'm sure you probably saw Hillary Clinton using a Vox article, the pillar of journalism that is Vox, where they talk about the fact that having a debate is not the right way to go about furthering science. And I was appalled at that. Did you see that quote?
No, but Peter Hotez said the same thing. He said that I'm not going to debate RFK because science doesn't do that. We only write white papers and publish those things. We don't actually go out and debate. And it's like, actually, wait a minute. Evolution, isn't that part of science that is being debated? Like,
right?
Aren't we talking about different things in the world that is debated? Like, that you have to have some challenge of the argument.
So, and Hotez, I know, said it. He's playing cover up, because if Hotez goes balls deep, if he goes fully in on this, he's screwed. I hate to say it, he's a dead man, because logic will lose. Data is not on the side of pharma on this, which is why they've spent so much money keeping it under wraps. So he can't even make it to the stand with RFK. I know that it's not going to happen. But the people jumping on the back of Hotez to say, we got you, bro. This article, or this comment from Vox, senior public health reporter Karen Landman said, debates are bad for communicating science. That was the exact phrase. And that's why Chelsea Clinton's like, why are we entertaining this guy? And some of the comments on my page on Instagram are saying, you guys are Looney Tunes. How would you take a politician's word over an expert doctor? Which leads me to believe people are just completely ignorant. RFK Jr. has been a litigator. He's not a politician. His family is. He's a politician now. He has been a litigator in the world of pharmaceutical injuries and ecology and several things. He is essentially a scientific lawyer that has been doing this method, going through just document after document and pages of these white papers and peer-reviewed science for 20 years. He's not just a politician. In many ways, he looks at more data than dipshit Hotez, period. So
let me ask you, peer review, doesn't that involve questioning some of the content to make sure it's correct?
You can't say that if you're Chelsea Clinton, but rational thinking human beings, yes, you can. I still can't believe Bill Clinton ever banged Hillary. I feel like that's weird. Like, I don't know. But anyways, I know that was a little bit of a curveball, but that's the RFK stuff you're going to see me continue to talk about, because I think it's a big deal. I was on Stacey on the Right on Sirius XM, The Patriot, last night. If you don't follow her, great show. Give it a listen. And we were talking about breaking the paradigm of what's going on, like what Trump has to do. Because, I mean, let's be honest, it looks like Trump's going to win the primary. Like, everything that they're doing to him makes him too strong. And at this point, DeSantis is doing a lot of shit work as well. Vivek isn't a big enough name. Vivek would be a good vice presidential candidate, I think, at this point. I think he's doing a great job. But when you look at Trump's potential running mates, Stacey said to me last night, she's like, he can't go with another white male because, the world we live in. I go, I completely agree. But there's a paradigm breaker, which is if he does something that's never been done before, reaches across the aisle to a family he just so happens to have a good relationship with. The only way there could be two white guys is if you have two white guys that just so happen to be on opposite ends of the political spectrum. And there's only one other populist above Trump in terms of ratings right now, which is RFK Jr. Can you imagine a split ticket with a Democrat-based RFK Jr. and a Donald Trump? That breaks the whole need for a minority or black or woman or whatever it might need. What do you think about that case?
100%. Like, that's one of the things that I keep reminding everybody is it's still possible. The Trump family and the Kennedy family are very close. They have been for a very long time. Now, RFK did come out and say a long time ago, many months ago, that he will not run with Trump. But
did he?
That family relationship, yeah, he said he will not. But that family relationship, I think, will change anything. One day they just may like, you know what, this is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And because they don't have bad blood, it's just a choice. And sometimes those things will change. And I think it is very possible that is the outcome. I don't see people throw out Kerry Lake. I don't see it. I don't see any of the others. DeSantis, I thought was likely, but I think with what he's done lately, he's kind of shot himself in the foot in a lot of ways. A lot of people have lost respect for him. So
Yeah,
I would like to see an RFK Trump ticket. That would be interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, so that's where we're at on that. We're going to move over to the Biden impeachment. I keep forgetting the word, so I'm bringing up the article because I want to make sure I say it correctly. But as a little comic relief, I don't know if you saw this. This is also leftist. This is leftist thought right here. So the NFL, an NFL player, what's his name, Jordan Poyer, announced that his annual charity golf tournament at Trump National has been canceled because the sponsor pulled out because it's at Trump National. So let's think how far the left will go to have identity politics. Let's pull a charity event. I want to see what the charity does. What does the charity do? Let's pull a charity event because a sponsor, whoever this, I want to know who the big sponsor is because you're a piece of shit. Let's see. Erie County Medical Center Foundation. So it's actually the foundation that received letters. Buffalo News Foundation was a beneficiary of an event, not a sponsor. So they were the ones that wanted to pull. We're not sure on who the brand is. And it's not really saying, it's just a hospital. Yeah, let's see. All because it was at golf course.
There was also pressure from his team. So like, this is one thing. Like Jordan Poyer is I believe he's a safety for the Bills. Yeah. He's a good guy. I really like him as an athlete, and his quarterback, which is a much bigger than him in presence in football, which is Josh Allen. Josh Allen was a big presence in pushing to not do it. Josh Allen is also a big golfer. And so by him pulling out, that probably also didn't help the situation either, not just others. I bet you
Josh
other
Allen
football players probably did.
What?
I think Josh Allen just stays away from these topics. He doesn't touch them. He doesn't touch them.
Like, do they not know how many probably shitty people own golf courses? Like, let's be really clear. Like the golf, like, so are you never going to golf at Augusta? I mean, they didn't allow a black member until God knows. I mean, how far are we going to take this shit? Like, and let's at the sacrifice of a hospital that needed donations that he does yearly, and it's a big helps people. But no, let's be worried about identity politics. Let's be worried about the fact that Trump's name is on a golf course. You're all raging piles of garbage.
It's all the same thing about when he was president. How the Super Bowl winning football team wouldn't go to the White House, right? Same issue.
Yeah. So stupid. All right. So this whole thing with Boebert, I'm trying to get the words that she used because I had to explain it. I wanted to make sure I explained it properly last night on Stacey on the Right. So Boebert had a resolution that she came out with. What is it called? It's like a privilege resolution, I think it is. And I read through exactly what that meant last night. But anyways, privilege resolution essentially means you get to go out ahead of it. And if you wanted to bring it to a vote, so she did a privilege resolution to impeach, to put forth articles of impeachment against Joe Biden. And she went against ranks. She's a sophomore. She's young. This is not, it's really out of her jurisdiction. I think it's a good thing that she did this, but then the committee or the GOP did end up forwarding it essentially as a resolution to the committees, essentially pausing to take the privilege motion. It was a privilege motion. It was pausing the privilege motion that would have had to go to the floor and be voted on within 2 days, which may or may not have made it out of the House and definitely would have been shot down in the Senate because they didn't even have enough Republican votes for the impeachment in the Senate. So I think there was a lot involving this. That is why it had to go to committee. The committee is the proper procedure. This is a good way to go about it, especially if the committee starts doing what they should be doing and investigating. Now, most people think this has to be about Hunter Biden. Casey, do you know what it's actually about? What this move for impeachment was actually about?
Not Lawrence, but I know MTG put together impeachment papers too. So I know about that one, but not Lawrence.
I think I think MTG's was the same. It's all about the border. So I don't think the border is enough to impeach Joe Biden. So I think it's an interesting resolution to bring up. So they're essentially saying his policies, which it's a little gray. What he's doing is terrible. The border is his fault, but it's not an impeachable offense. I think this is a teaser. I think this is something to start getting the verbiage going while they are making sure and it's only the far right wing of the Freedom Caucus. It's only the Freedom Caucus on the Republican side that's actually doing something about the Hunter Biden laptop. Hunter took his little deal, shuffled his feet, gets to still own a gun, all that he wants, showing that everything is wrong with our political system. And they're building a case, hopefully through the proper means of communication and proper means of governmental use in the committees, and then they can impeach based on that. And that's actually what they are moving to impeach Mayorkas on. And where is all this article I posted?
Garland,
Mayorkas. What's the other two? Joe Biden.
Garland.
Yeah, there you go. So Merrick Garland, which would be huge. They all should go, but they're impeaching them based on their mishandling. Mayorkas is actually based on the border, and then Garland is based on the mishandling of the Joe Biden laptop and the misinformation, the hiding of information to protect the sitting president and pre-president, technically. So
the thing that I see with this is that they're trying to take on too much with one bill. These all should be separated, because
they are.
When it comes down to, well, what I mean by there should be a real big focus on each individual one. The border is a big deal. The thing that I think that is setting the stage for, though, is if you can start taking and pushing something with the border, you're holding the federal government accountable. That is what their job responsibility is for our states and the union, is to protect our border, and they are not doing that. Yeah. So by going through these channels and forcing them to acknowledge a issue also opens it up to where states can start holding them accountable and being like, no, you're paying for this. We're billing you for what we're going to be doing at the border and different things like that. Because Abbott should be stepping up. Hobbs in Arizona should be stepping up. A whole bunch of people should be stepping up to fortify the border. It affects them more than it does the federal government.
Abbott did some stuff this week that I saw that he got a lot of flack from the Democrats on, which means that he did something halfway decent. But he was declaring, he was essentially talking about what exactly can be done at the border. Do we start to militarize? Like, how do we start handling the border? So I do, as much as I'm not a huge Abbott fan, I do think he's got some skin in the game, and I think he's fighting for the border. He's fighting against some other issues, like he's allowing China to buy a lot of property, all these different things that I think is corrupt and issues on a global scale. But he is enforcing the border from the Mexican line standpoint, which really, I don't know why I say Mexico, because the people coming across are not Mexican anymore. They were Egyptians. There's Haitians there. I mean, it's all over. It's a wide open spaces, like the Dixie Chicks would like to say. Wide open spaces. All right. Yeah, I need to stop singing. So in terms of the Hunter Biden issue, and again, I think it's big that the impeachments on these, and this is exactly what I said last night. This can't be something, because her comment when we were on the show was, I think it's time for the GOP to act. They have to act. They have to say something. And I agree. I fully agree that we have to start this process. But we don't have the media on our side. We don't. We don't have the media that's gonna explain it correctly to the American people. So in the instance of impeaching Donald Trump, they got to say twice impeached Donald Trump. They got to say indicted Donald Trump. They got to say Espionage Act Donald Trump, and they're leaving out the lack of convictions in any way, shape, or form. Whereas, and they're using that obviously to their political advantage and a messaging advantage. Whereas the left can screw up to a point where they get impeached, but the media, the 87 to 90% of the leftist media, will actually say it's a conspiracy against him instead of them, instead of actually saying this is news. So the verbiage doesn't work the same. So the Republicans need to get their shit together and actually make sure whatever they have is ironclad. And the Hunter Biden investigation is perfect example. So there is obviously whistleblowers. There's whistleblowers that have come out, and there's articles saying the investigation integrity has been undermined, fully undermined from the Department of Justice if just half of the IRS whistleblowers' claims are true, if just half. If searches were blocked, questions limited, or account they could confirm that the suspicions about this investigation had been halted in any way, shape, or form. And that was from a George Washington University law professor, Jonathan Turley, said this. And he's just saying, like, what the whistleblower is saying is so ridiculously damning that you just take a fraction of it, a half of it, this is game over. But you actually have to get the information out there. It has to be out there, and that's the big deal.
Well, it comes back to a little bit of what we started with, right? With RFK and the censorship. The big tech is in the back pockets of these people, of the corrupt system in general.
Yeah.
It's very worrisome when we're going into probably one of our biggest elections we've had. And I am not saying that like other people have said, told me in my past. Tim Pool posed a question in his podcast last night. Do you think this is our last election? And I got thinking about it, and where he's going with that is there is such a divide in this country. You might start seeing some elections start segmenting and just being like, no more US.
Yeah.
You could see some secessions happen over this election, and we'll see how it gets handled.
Well, the other problem is if the GOP, it's one of those ones they have to start going in on this. Because, I mean, in all reality, and I know the Democrats are going to think I'm insane, our republic is at stake. The democracy of America is at stake. Everything that we have is at stake. And they've said that about Trump for no reason except for he was a little bit meaner. But, like, this is a big issue. But the thing is, if they fail to get the proper information to make it where even the Democrats in the Senate have to vote for impeachment, or they will look like shills. Like, it has to be blatant. If they fail, here's the problem. It's not just the presidential election. It's also the statewide elections. Because then they're going to be able, big time, they're going to be able to take the governors and the senators and the congressmen that can, and women, can be whatever, and those that are non-binary in Congress. Anyways, they're just kidding. They're going to have to take, they're going to look at their voting record on this, and they're going to use that against them. If they fail to actually convict, and they were just voting for impeachment, it will affect the not just presidential, the whole election, the election at large, which will therefore swing the pendulum so far the Democrat side. So it's one of those ones, you got to go all in, but you better have the nuts. And if you don't play poker, that means you have to know you've got the best hand. But the fact is, that at this point, just based on what we've seen on the laptop, they have to have the best hand. Find a way to get the rest of the information. And you have to get Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and some of the Mitt Romneys out of the leadership roles where they have their hands in it, because these establishment dick fucks, pardon me, I just dropped a big one on that one. Sorry. These establishment asshats, that's better, are going to do what they can to keep Joe Biden in charge, because they don't care about Republican or Democrat. They care about establishment. And that's the biggest issue. So if they're continuing to get their little paws dirty on meddling with this stuff, nothing's going to change. And like Tim Pool was having the conversation, we might lose our elections for good, period.
Absolutely.
So,
and when it comes down to this election, like you talked locally, I just want to touch on this one thing. I made a post last night talking about Celeste Malloy. I don't know how to say her last name. She got the GOP nomination to replace Chris Stewart, which is a District 2 House representative in Congress. And she was not even registered as a Republican as of time of running. And she also didn't follow the proper process. Somehow she got the nomination. That is showing you there is corruption at every level. We have to stop buying into parties. Parties have to go away. I'm not making very many friends in Utah right now by saying this, because everybody's getting mad at me because I'm more conservative leaning. But sorry, the party failed. If you let somebody get the nomination and they did not follow all the checks and balances and they went around it and they got the nomination, the party failed. Accept it and get rid of the party. Everybody signed off on that somehow. And it is bad. Very bad.
I mean, how is it that we've gotten to a point where we talked about a year and a half, 2 years ago about the emails that literally said 10 held by H for the big guy, and it's not like we've even gotten a response from the White House or from anybody on that side to be like, well, H is this, big guy is that, it's unrelated. We can't even get that. And then the left goes, God, you guys in this conspiracy shit. It's like, Then explain it. You guys always talk about like the movie 2000 Mules. It was debunked without ever debunking it. So debunk that line that's in the laptop, which Hunter Biden, let's not forget, is suing for his information being leaked, which is admitting that it's his laptop. There's literally no level of intelligence that you could take this from anymore to not realize how big of a problem this is. I don't get it anymore. I don't. And I mean, and then you've got the somebody's talking about distraction in the comments. I agree. Like Pride Month is one gigantic distraction. Like it's a problem because I believe in protecting our children. And right now it's gotten so far. The finance guy at the dealership yesterday, I talked about this on my live. Great guy. Like, and he saw my Wake Not Woke hat and he's like, oh, that's awesome. We were talking a little bit. And him and I had very similar opinions on things. Like, if you want to be gay, be gay. Don't care. I don't care. Right. Nobody, except for a few people, like people we know, the conservatives, most of them don't care. Nobody cares. No. Just do what you want to do, but stay the hell away from children. Like it's gotten so weird. Yes. It's like you've got guys riding around on bicycles with their penis out. Apparently it's in Portland. I thought it was New York too. I mean, you've got clear nudity across the board, and that's what you're proud of. That's what pride means. That's what you're proud of. Like if you want to have a bunch of married men and women walking hand in hand, and like I get that's cool. Like do you? But like you're proud of the worst of your group. That would be like the issue that people have with like gang mentality. It's like, no, I don't think black people are bad, but I think gangs are shitty. But if there's a black pride parade, are they going to be just walking around with their long handled rifle shit, the handguns with the long clip? Like, what are they going to like? Is that, oh yeah, we're proud of these people? No, these are the worst of your group. These are the people walking around in terms of the gay pride parade with their dicks out in front of children with the parents that are literally too dumb to realize this is probably a bad idea. I don't get it. I don't get it, Casey.
They're being open and accepting, Russo. Why can't you be more accepting?
I'm as accepting as they come to a fault. I've been told that I'm a fake Christian because I don't care if people are whatever. Anyways, but yeah, I had this great conversation with the guy and he agreed. He's like, it's gotten so insanely silly. We're going to go to the Hunter Biden story. In a second, I do want to talk about Dr. Artis show. I just got him speaking at an event with KSOC. I got Bobby Sauce speaking out there as well. Hopefully Peter McCullough, if he checks his email, they're going to be speaking at this great event in Seattle in Washington coming up in October. But anyways, Dr. Artis, I'm a fan of him. He's a fan of me. Good dude. Go to thedrartisshow.com. Use BFD at checkout for 10% off. I know we have a lot of our listeners that use his supplements. Great for the anti-coof stuff. Immune system building, and there's even a video that I'll put the link on, especially on the YouTube, where you'll see it and you can actually go there and learn some stuff on how to get rid of maybe the juicy jab and whatever. Just check it out. Okay. And as always, if you want to support the show, just go to patreon.com/BeTheChangeUSA or one-time donations, which a couple weeks ago we got one. So I forgot that was even on there, the Venmo, Be The Change USA. Okay, let's talk about Hunter Biden. I love this video. My friend, I can't get enough of it. So I'm going to show it real quick. Let's see if I can pull it up. Son of a bee sting. Give me a second, Case.
That's what happens when you have a Mac.
Here it is. No, you shut your dirty mouth. Sorry, I'm looking. It was from Right Wing Angel's page on Instagram, which if you don't follow, the Right Wing Angel, it's great. Winged Angel. The one that I'm pulling up is on Hunter Biden, but the other one is the trans woman was outraged because gynecologists won't see biological male patients. He's like, I went in there. I'll play that one too. He's got such good stuff. All right, I'm going to go to his page. Do you follow Right Winged Angel?
Yep.
It's so good. He's actually, him, Bobby Sauce, and a couple other people are my favorite follows by far. Let's see. There it is. All right. So here's his page. Let's have a little fun.
The Hunter Biden story, the scandal, the this, the that, it's also the story of a father's love. And Joe Biden has never and will never give up on his son Hunter, and will never treat him lesser than. And so he is a father first. Take it or leave it.
You gotta be kidding me, dude. You have got to be kidding me.
You have to remember, Hunter is the smartest person Joe Biden knows.
Oh my God. Like that one to me, it's like how deep can you get in your full of shittery to literally say that what's going on with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden's blatant lies about the business dealings, friendship, and relationship with his son. This is a father's love. When they're literally talking about if Jared Kushner farted funny, they were like, he embezzled money from his throat to his asshole. Like, they went so far on Trump that, like, you can't even imagine it. This is showing absolutely clear corruption and drug use and hooker use. He got there's documentation. He got kicked out of a sex club for getting too rowdy. Do you know how rowdy sex clubs are? Hunter Biden is the lowest form of human being, and on top of it, for all those on the left that are so big on, oh, we hate white privilege, he is the ultimate white privilege, and you ignore it because his father's got a D behind his name and is willing to do anything for the establishment known to mankind. It's ridiculous. And yes, Rose, you're right. You can get some merch. Go, it's on the bottom of the screen. AwakeNetWokeStore.com. Use Awake for 15% off. Thanks for that plug, Rose. Rose always gets merch from us. Thank you, Rose. All right, sorry. Go ahead, Casey, because this is just tomfoolery and ballyhoo.
It's absurd. When it comes down to Hunter Biden and the entire Biden family, Jill Biden should be ashamed of herself for what she's putting her husband through. He is clearly showing a mental decline that we've talked about endlessly for the last few years. And then you have this whole situation with her son, and not her son. She is a stepmom to him, right?
Who are you talking about? Yeah,
Jill?
stepmom. Yeah. Which ironically, as most people will avoid the conversation, it sounds like he was also laying a little pipe before his wife passed away with the babysitter. It just so happens to be Joe Biden. But again, let's ignore that because, let's worry about Trump banging a whatever. Go ahead.
It's ridiculous that even she won't even come out and acknowledge anything around Hunter. Have you heard her talk about anything with Hunter at all?
No.
Not one thing.
No.
Not one thing.
Well, do you remember in the text messaging, they don't like, according to the text messages that were in the laptop because he has his iCloud attached. God, he's so stupid. Smartest man Joe Biden ever knows. He was messaging, he was calling her a bitch, and like he was saying all these terrible things. Like, they don't get along, like, at all. Yeah. Maybe that's what Jill doesn't say.
Maybe they let
something nice to say.
Maybe. My thing is, I look at it like this whole family's a mess. It's a disaster. And we have this family running our country, supposedly. I still question that because I don't think he is doing anything other than what he's instructed to do.
Oh, yeah.
And when it comes down to this Hunter Biden situation, I think Dave might be onto something of what we talked about. It was all Joe Biden saying he's running in 2024 was all because they knew this was pending under Hunter, that this was coming. And this might have got Hunter off a little bit easier than it would be if Joe Biden was not going to be president anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense. There's so many different things. And honestly, this whole Ukraine, Russia thing, the Russian coup and the perfectly timed submarine there's so many different random things going on. One of the posts that I have on Instagram that still gets a lot of traction every day that's weeks old is when I said, "Where's the war?" And it was the video that was in a McDonald's, which was reshared by Chad Prather, not with my commentary, but just talking about, like, let's look at McDonald's in America and Ukraine. And people are so up in arms about that post, one way or another. Our side going, why are we still funding this? Me, who says, where's the war? But I also say in the comments, I know there's still a war going on. I don't think it's fake, but it's literally just soldiers fighting in the forests and small towns at this point because they have to, because there is a proxy war, a forced financial war. They have to stay in conflict. Nobody's willing to sign a resolution. So all these ultra lefties come on the page, one was my favorite, was saying that this should win the Darwin Award for being the dumbest person to ever speak on Instagram. Thank you very much for that comment. But they're like, you do know it's on the other side of the country. I'm like, I do know that. And you don't know the size of Ukraine. Ukraine's the size of Texas. And I'm going to tell you, if I'm in Dallas and there is something going on in El Paso that is the worst war we've had in 20 years, I'm not going to be walking around a perfectly clean McDonald's like nothing is the matter. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So the whole reason, Casey, what was the reason that we originally, as a nation, and I'm not going to say I was for or against this part, why was it that we were originally spending hundreds of millions to then billions of dollars? What were we told as American people why we were spending it?
Why were we spending that money on Ukraine?
In the beginning.
Well, we have the treaty. That is one thing that forces us to do it.
Right.
So the treaty from 1993.
What was the money supposed to be going to? You're thinking too technical. Think like what were they playing on the American emotions? Why were they telling us that we needed to help?
Oh, to save the Ukrainian people?
Humanitarian aid, exactly, Case. So that's what they told us. So that's why I was showing what was happening at the Ukrainian McDonald's. Is if this is a humanitarian issue at this point, it seems as though that part's over. It's now just a war being fought between Nazis and Russians. And I know that's going to sound weird, but one of the main groups fighting the battle still is the Azov Battalion, which is Nazis, not the whole Ukrainian army. There's a lot of good Ukrainian army. There's a lot of good army on both sides. I sound like Donald Trump. There's a lot of good on both sides. These people don't know any better. They're fighting for their country for no apparent reason. And in our country, we were originally sold a bill of goods that said we need to help the people of Ukraine. The people of Ukraine are out of harm's way, apparently, at this point. So why are we still funneling billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars?
So it can pad Joe Biden's wallet. Like he's the only president and vice president that I've ever heard talk about Ukraine. I have not heard any other president really worry about Ukraine in any way. I've only heard it from the Obama administration and Joe Biden. And there is business dealings that have came up endlessly that need to be investigated properly, but they won't. That shows we should be looking into why is Ukraine so much of a focus. We put in a president of Ukraine. It was not a proper election. We put who we wanted there. And so why is all of this happening, but yet all of this money we're funneling through them? It did get all mixed up with that, what FTX, whatever. That was also an issue. It all comes back to money. Follow the money.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, and this is where I do like to correct some right-wing speaking points that might not be fully correct. So FTX, Sam Bankman is up on a lot of charges. Yeah, so there's a lot of there's a lot of things you'll see this week that says the Biden administration has dropped charges on Sam Bankman-Fried. That's actually not true. There was new charges that they were adding that ended up getting dropped. He is still being fully charged. So that part has not changed. So I always like to correct the red meat that gets thrown out there that is actually incorrect. So just as a heads up, if you see that, don't share it because it's not fully correct. New charges that were added that probably should have been added that were then dropped by the Biden administration, DOJ, and all that stuff. But he's still being pretty much fully charged. I don't know much. I'm seeing this thing come through a lot, that there's all this audio recording of Trump acknowledging that he had secret military information that was not declassified 6 months after leaving office. This is a key piece in Jack Smith's case against the former president. Apparently, they're throwing it up on CNN right now. I've heard a lot about this the last couple of days. I don't actually really know what it says or anything, so I'm not going to be able to speak much on it. But yeah. So if anybody's watching,
I'll take a shot at it. I bet you it's him embellishing, acting like he knows what he's talking about, like Trump has done many times.
Yeah.
And it just acknowledges, oh yeah, that's probably happening. And they're going to take it. Oh, see, he knew. That's probably what it's going to be.
Yeah, and that says declassified, not even top secret. It says secret military. I don't know. There's a lot going on with that. I'm curious to hear because I read the indictment. I think Casey read it as well. He did some stuff that was definitely wrong in there. I mean, but there's nothing Espionage Act. There's nothing. It's just it's ridiculous compared to the annals of shit that previous presidents have done. I'm gonna before we wrap up. Those watching the show, looks like we had a great show. And we might move it to 3:00 every week. Who knows? There's a 5 minutes left or so stick around, but I want to show this other one in the right-wing angels thing. I got to show this. So good.
Appointment because I need to be checked. You know, I mean, they got to use a fucking speculum. They've got to take a sample, that type of thing, check for tears, blah, blah, blah. Right. I mean, makes sense. And so what they had said to me, it's like, well, we don't do that here. And I'm like, but you're a gynecologist office. Why wouldn't you? Well, we don't treat trans patients. So you're discriminating against me is what you're telling me. You know?
With his teeth.
My female doctor in Toronto would have taken you in a heartbeat. Damn. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. I am pretty fucking pissed. You know, it's so hard to find a fucking like a gynecologist that can like even work with me, you know, and I don't understand it. So I don't know.
I can't. I love the Boston accent coming to you. First off, don't go to a gynecologist, go to a dentist. One, start there. And then B, what do you so the best comment, if you see it, Drew Breezy, friend of the show, a pool cleaning company has the right to reject you as a client if you don't own a swimming pool. It does not get better than that. Like it is the this is the world, Casey. This is the world we live in. And then like some of the things I've been seeing, it's like, so there was another, maybe it's on, he's been every so often he's good, but every so often he just crushes it where everything is good. Yeah, this is good. This will be the last thing we talk about, then we'll end.
Terroristic threats. Following his arrest, he was transported to the DeKalb County Jail.
Let's go to the squad car, please. Okay. Why?
You're not gonna believe this.
Why is it happening? I'm being arrested? Yes. For what? For what?
I'll be with you in just 1 second.
The black dude in a hoodie.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to leave this alone.
But still, I will need for you to fill out a statement for him.
I don't want him arrested. I just want to leave this
I
alone.
know, but he had a weapon on him, and it was terrorist threats.
Brandishing is not a crime with a knife. Brandishing is only a crime for a gun.
Terroristic threats, though, sir.
Because he said die to me and had his knife out?
What?
Yes.
So this guy doesn't want him arrested, and you're going to hear why in a second. All he said was guide him, and he had his knife at me and my family. It's no big deal. I just wanted him to go away. I didn't want him arrested. How? Tell me you voted for Joe Biden without telling.
All that was done. The threats, everything. Let me get a statement.
If I thought you were going to arrest him, I wouldn't call it. I just wanted to leave this alone.
If I thought that you were going to arrest him, I wouldn't have called. I would have rather had me and my family stabbed by a crazy person because I do. Mm-hmm.
I understand, but we still have a job to do.
Now he's gonna think I'm doing this because I'm white and he's black, or he's homeless and I'm not. I don't want that.
But did he do what he did?
Yeah, but I don't want him thinking that I did it because he's in whatever situation he's in. I just want him to leave us alone.
I doubt that. I'll be right back, okay?
This is the world we live in, Casey.
Beta.
I mean, the transgender wanting to go to a gynecologist is bad. Not willing to protect your family because you don't want a person with a knife that is homeless to think you're racist because you called and then you cry to the cop. I can't even. Like, we have reached a whole new level of effery at this point, Casey.
It's just like when those people, like when stupid people end up shooting themselves with a gun and they're like, oh, I didn't know it would fire. And it's like, well, don't put your finger on the trigger, idiot. You are so dumb.
We've reached a whole new level of I mean, that one got, because it's like that is the perfect response to the Daniel Penny incident.
Sure.
Daniel Penny incident.
Absolutely.
That is the perfect response, because now if you try to do something to either protect yourself physically or call the police, which I think it's ironic. It sounds like the female police officer is black, and it sounds like the male police officer, or it didn't sound like, look like the male officer was black as well. And he's afraid of looking like a racist when the black police officers are like, this dude had a knife. We are choosing to arrest him because he was a dangerous threat. This is the counterpoint to what happened to Daniel Penny, who stood up for himself, stood up for the people on the train, and he's now facing a major indictment and second-degree manslaughter because you can't do anything anymore because of identity politics when we completely ignore the fact that I mean, let's just look at crime statistics, and I'll leave it at that. Like, I think anybody with a brain at this point is going to understand that this is much to do about nothing. Like, and whenever anybody brings up the white on white argument, well, nobody cares that white on white crime is the highest killer of white people. Yeah, nobody cares because nobody cares about when white people get killed by dumb criminals. Like, that's the
Correct.
point. If we were marching in the street for a white guy killed by a cop, like Tony Timpa, like all that, then we could start having a discussion. But as a whole, black people kill black people, white people kill white people. And if you want to look at the percentages, there is a higher percentage of black people killing black people than white people killing white people. It's about 80 to 95. Mm-hmm. It's 80% on the white side, 80 to 83% on the white side, and 90 to 93% on the black side. So we have lost our sense. We have lost our everything. So
we have lost everything, and we had a more recent example than Tony Timpa. Remember the black kid that was shot through the door for ringing the doorbell at 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
Then a white girl, the same day or the next day, something like that, was turning around in someone's driveway and was shot and killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one
no
got
coverage.
publicity and one didn't.
Yeah. And that girl, they were in a car. They weren't even a threat yet. Again, both instances had its issues, but and again, people think that we're racist because we're just automatic, like, it's an issue, black on black crime. No, talking about black on black crime is a response to the argument of black people are being killed, they're being hunted by white people, all these different things. It's a response. I don't say it like walking around. I mean, technically, honestly, I think we should say it more, because if we want to actually save lives, if we want to save black lives, we need to actually bring up the biggest root cause. That would be sure. The smartest thing to do. But typically I'm doing it as a response to, look at what happens here. Look at this white person using the N-word on a black person. I'm using Hawk Newsom's page as a perfect example. Like, that's the type stuff we're trying to counter, this completely horrific narrative. And that's the problem.
There should be no countering the negative narrative. What we should be looking at is coming together as a country and how we solve this to make our country better.
Yeah.
And if we're always trying to counter a narrative or just do something to combat what they're doing to us, it's never going to work. If we unify and come with strength in numbers in elections and locally in our communities, we will make this country better. That is how we're going to fix it.
That was a great way to, almost wrap it up. I do want to wrap it up on Gene Klingo. Imprison Trump, Jordan, somebody, MTG, Bobart Gates, Johnson. What's Johnson? What you talking about?
Jim Johnson.
Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan. Yeah.
I don't know what Johnson. Maybe she's talking about Gates's Johnson. Maybe that's what she's talking about. Gene, I'm glad you could join us. I'm glad you're here at the end of the show. Go back and crawl in the hole you came from. Let's end it on a Cash comment. As Cash said, when will Black Lives matter if they don't matter to black people? That's how he went viral. That's how he can have a following, was based on making friends with Cash. He is in Arizona. He's almost out of the hole, is what we've heard from Erica. That is the update on him. Hopefully I'll get to talk to him sometime this week. Last time I talked to him was beginning of June. We'll see if I can hear from him again, but he is in Arizona. That's all I've got. Casey, what do you got for everybody?
Not much, guys. Just pay attention to what's going on with all of the people. Try to follow the people you want to support, and don't let the media show you who you should be looking at. Look at other people that are running locally. Like, I'm running into the issues here in Utah that we nominated in the GOP some random person that shouldn't be there to replace in a special election this November. So now any good candidate is not going to get the publicity that they deserve. And so do some extra digging and research before you vote.
Boom. And Kelly's running rodeos this weekend. I may be up with Casey. I don't know. She'll be in Oakley, Utah to start. It's Cowboy Christmas. I have my second audition with Cowboy Channel tomorrow. So wish me luck on that. And then I think that's pretty much all I got for you guys. AwakeNotWokeStore.com. We've got Defund the Media shirt. We've got Unveed Lives Matter, Vaccine Injured Lives Matter, all the different things. Go to AwakeNotWokeStore.com. Use Awake for 15% off. TheDrArtistShow.com for the supplements. The Doc's Viral Defense, always the way to go, especially if you're traveling a lot this summer. Use BFD at checkout for 10% off. If you like, we've talked about Tony a lot, Tony from MONAT. If you like the hair care products, just go directly order from her. We're not doing the affiliate thing, but she's always been a help. So Tony.mymonate. patreon.com. And last but not least, support the show. Give me some help. Patreon.com/BeTheChangeUSA. I got to prove to Kelly that not just rodeos can pay the bills or one-time donations. Be the Change USA on Venmo. Hook us up, help us out, do whatever you can. Share this video ultimately. That's the one thing. Fernando, yeah, you said it in 2016, 2017, 2018. That's the end of the show. Take it easy, guys, and God bless.